Section 18 of Drake by Alfred Noyes. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Recording by Cynthia Moyer. Book 12, Part 1. Meanwhile, as in the gloom he slipped aside along the Spanish ranks, waiting the crash of battle, suddenly Drake became aware of strange sails bearing up into the wind around his right, and thought, the Armada strives to weather us in the dark. Down went his helm, and all alone the little Revenge gave chase, till as the moon crept slowly forth, she stood beside the ghostly ships, only to see bewildered Flemish merchantmen, amazed with fears of Armageddon, such vast shrouds had lately passed them on the rolling seas. Down went his helm again, with one grim curse upon the chance that led him thus astray. And down the wind the little Revenge once more swept on the trail. Fainter and fainter now glared the red beacons on the British coasts, and the wind slackened, and the glimmering east greyed and reddened, yet Drake had not regained sight of the ships. When the full glory of dawn dazzled the sea, he found himself alone, with one huge galleon helplessly drifting a cable's length away. Around her prow, Nuestra Señora del Rosario, richly emblazoned, gold on red, proclaimed the flagship of great Valdes, of the fleet of Andalusia, Captain General. She, last night, in dark collision with the hulks of Spain, had lost her foremast. Through the night her guns, long rank on deadly rank, had kept all enemies at bay. Drake summoned her instantly to surrender. She returned a scornful answer from the glittering poop, where 20 officers crowned the golden sea and stained the dawn with blots of richer colour, loftily clustered in the glowing sky, doubleted with cramoisy velvet, wreathed with golden chains, blazing with jewelled swords and crusted poignards. What proud haste was this, they asked, glancing at their huge tiers of cannon and crowded decks of swarthy soldiery. What madman in yon cockle shell defied Spain? Tell them it is El Draque, he said, who lacks the time to parley, therefore it will be well they strike at once, for I am in great haste. There, at the sound of that renowned name, without a word down came their blazoned flag. Like a great fragment of the dawn it lay, crumpled upon their decks. Into the soft bloom and Italian blue of sparkling, ever beautiful Torbay, belted as with warm Mediterranean crags, the little Revenge foamed with her mighty prize. A prize indeed, not for the casks of gold Drake split in the rich sunlight and poured out like dross amongst his men, but in her hold lay many tons of powder, worth their weight in rubies now to Britain. Into the hands of swarthy Brixham fishermen he gave prisoners and prize. Then, loaded stem to stern with powder and shot, their swiftest trawlers flew like falcons following a thundercloud behind him, as with crowded sail he rushed on England's trail once more. Like a caged lion Drake paced his deck, praying he yet might reach the fight in time. And ever the warm light wind slackened. Not till the sun was half way fallen once more crept out in front those dusky thrones of thunder, heaving on the smooth bright sea from north to south, with Howard's clustered fleet like tiny clouds becalmed, not half a mile behind the Spaniards, for the breeze had failed their blind midnight pursuit, and now attack seemed hopeless. Even as Drake drew nigh, the last breath of the wind sank. One more day had flown, naught was accomplished, and the Armada lay some leagues of golden seaway nearer now to its great goal. The sun went down, the moon rose glittering. Hardly a cannon shot apart the two fleets lay becalmed upon the silver swell of the smooth night tide. The hour had come for Spain to strike. The ships of England drifted helplessly at the mercy of those great hulks oared by their thousand slaves. Onward they came, swinging suddenly in tremendous gloom over the silver seas. But even as Drake, with eyes on fire at last for his last fight, measured the distance ere he gave the word to greet it with his cannon, suddenly the shining face of the deep began to shiver with dusky patches, the doomed English sails quivered, and filling smart from the north east, the little Revenge rushed down their broken line, signalling them to follow, and ere they knew what miracle had saved them, they all sprang their luff and ran large out to sea. For now the Armada lay to windward, and to fight meant to be grappled and overwhelmed. But dark within the mind of Drake a fiercer plan already had shaped itself. They fly! They fly! Rending the heavens from twice 10,000 throats, a mighty shout rose from the Spanish fleet. Over the moonlit waves their galleons came, towering, crowding, plunging down the wind in full chase, while the tempter, Drake, laughed low to watch their solid battle order break and straggle. When once more the golden dawn dazzled the deep, the labouring galleons lay scattered by their unequal speed. The wind veered as the sun rose. Once again the ships of England lay to windward. Down swooped Drake, where like a mountain the San Marcos heaved her giant flanks alone, having outsailed her huge companions. Then the sea winds blazed with broadsides. 2 long hours the sea flamed red all round her. One by one the Titan ships came surging to her rescue and met the buffet of battle thunders belching iron and flame. Nor could they pluck her forth from that red chaos till great Oquendo hurled his mighty prows crashing athwart those thunders, and once more, gathered into unshakable battle order, the whole Armada raked the reeking seas. Then up the wind the ships of England sheered once more, and one more day drew to its close with little accomplished, half their powder spent, and all the Armada moving as of old, from sky to sky, one heaven-wide zone of storm, though some 3 galleons out of all their host laboured woundily down the darkening channel. And all night long on England's guardian heights the beacons reddened, and all the next long day the impregnable Armada never swerved from its tremendous path. In vain did Drake, Frobisher, Hawkins, Howard, greatest names in all our great sea history, hover and dart like falcons round the mountainous array. Till now, as night fell and they lay abreast of the Isle of Wight, Once more the council flag flew from the little Revenge. With iron face thrust close to Howard's, and outstretched iron arm, under the stars Drake pointed down the coast, where the red beacons flared. "The shoals," he hissed, "the shoals from Oars to Spithead and the net of channels yonder in Portsmouth Roads. At dawn they'll lie to leeward of the Invincible fleet." Swiftly, in mighty sweeping lines, Drake set before the council his fierce battle plan To drive the Armada down upon the banks And utterly shatter it, stroke by well schemed stroke, As he unfolded there his vital plot, And touched their dead cold warfare into life Where plan before was none. He seemed to tower above them, clad with the deep night of stars. And those that late would rival knew him now In all his great simplicity, their king, One of the gods of battle, England's Drake, A soul that summoned Caesar from his grave And swept with Alexander o'er the deep. So when the dawn through rolling wreaths of cloud Struggled, and all the waves were molten gold, The heart of Spain exulted, for she saw The little fleet of England cloven in twain, As if by some strange discord. A light breeze Blew from the ripening east, and, up against it, Urged by the very madness of defeat, Or so it seemed, one half the British fleet Drew nigh, towed by their boats, to challenge the vast Tempest winged heaving citadels of Spain At last to the murderous grapple; while far away Their other half, led by the flag of Drake, Stood out to sea, as if to escape the doom Of that sheer madness; for the light wind now Could lend them no such wings to hover and swoop As heretofore. Nearer the mad ships came, Towed by their boats, till now upon their right To windward loomed the fleet Invincible With all its thunder clouds, and on their left To leeward gleamed the perilous white shoals With their long level lightnings under the cliffs Of England, from the green glad garden of Wight To the Oars and Selsey Bill. Right on they came, and suddenly the wrench of thundering cannon Shook the vast hulks that towered above them. Red flamed the blue sea between. Thunder to thunder answered, and still the ships of Drake Sped out to the open sea. Sidonia saw them go, furrowing the deep That like a pale blue shield lay diamond dazzled now in the full light. Rich was the omen of that day for Spain, The feast day of Sidonia's patron saint. And the priests chanted and the trumpets blew Triumphantly; a universal shout Went skyward from the locust swarming decks, A shout that rent the golden morning clouds From heaven to menacing heaven, as castle to castle Flew the great battle signal; and like one range Of moving mountains those almighty ranks Swept down upon the small forsaken ships. The lion's brood was in the imperial nets Of Spain at last. Onward the mountains came With all their golden clouds of sail and flags Like streaming cataracts, all their glorious chasms And glittering steeps, echoing, re echoing, Calling, answering, as with the herald winds That blow the golden trumpets of the morning From Skiddaw to Helvellyn. In the midst The great San Martin surged with heaven wide press Of proudly billowing sail; and yet once more Slowly, solemnly, like another dawn, Up to her masthead soared in thunderous gold The sacred standard of their last crusade; While round 100 prows that heaved through heaven Like granite cliffs, their black wet shining flanks, And swept like moving promontories rolled The splendid long drawn thunders of the foam, And flashed the untamed white lightnings of the sea Back to a morn unhalyarded of man, Back to the unleashed sun and blazoned clouds And azure sky, the unfettered flag of God. Like one huge moving coastline, on they came, Crashing, and closed the ships of England round With one fierce crescent of thunder and sweeping flame, One crimson scythe of death, whose long sweep drowned The eternal ocean with its mighty sound. From heaven to heaven one roar, one glitter of doom, While out to the sea line's blue remotest bound The ships of Drake still fled, and the red fume Of battle thickened and shrouded shoal and sea with gloom. The distant sea, the close white menacing shoals Are shrouded, and the lion's brood fight on, And now death's very midnight round them rolls. Rent is the flag that late so proudly shone. The red decks reel and their last hope seems gone. Round them they still keep clear one ring of sea. It narrows, but the lion's brood fight on, Ungrappled still, still fearless and still free, While the white menacing shoals creep slowly out to lee. Now through the red rents of each fire cleft cloud High o'er the British blood greased decks flash out Thousands of swarthy faces, crowd on crowd, Surging with one tremendous hurricane shout On to the grapple! And still the grim redoubt Of the oaken bulwarks rolls them back again, As buffeted waves that shatter in the furious bout When cannonading cliffs meet the full main And hurl it back in smoke, so Britain hurls back Spain. Hurls her back only to see her return, Darkening the heavens with billow on billow of sail. Round that huge storm the waves like lava burn, The daylight withers and the sea winds fail. Seamen of England, what shall now avail Your naked arms? Before those blasts of doom The sun is quenched, the very sea waves quail. High overhead their triumphing thousands loom, When hark! what low deep guns to windward suddenly boom! What low deep strange new thunders far away Respond to the triumphant shout of Spain? Is it the wind that shakes their giant array? Is it the deep wrath of the rising main? Is it El Draque? El Draque! Ay, shout again! His thunders burst upon your windward flanks. The shoals creep out to leeward. Is it plain At last what earthquake heaves your herded ranks Huddled in huge dismay towards those white foam swept banks? Plain? It was plain at last. What cunning lured, What courage held them o'er the jaws o' the pit Till Drake could hurl them down? The little ships Of Howard and Frobisher, towed by their boats, Slipped away in the smoke, while out at sea Drake, with a gale of wind behind him, crashed Volley on volley into the helpless rear Of Spain and drove it down, huddling the whole Invincible fleet together upon the verge Of doom. One awful surge of stormy wrath Heaved through the struggling citadels of Spain. From east to west their desperate signal flew, And like a drove of bullocks, with the foam Flecking their giant sides, they staggered and swerved, Careening towards the shallows as they turned, Then in one wild stampede of sheer dismay Rushed, tacking seaward, while the grey sea plain Smoked round them, and the cannonades of Drake Raked their wild flight; and the crusading flag, Tangled in one black maze of crashing spars, Whirled downward like the pride of Lucifer From heaven to hell. Out towards the coasts of France they plunged, Narrowly weathering the Ower banks. Then once again they formed in ranks compact, Roundels impregnable, wrathfully bent at last Never to swerve again from their huge path And solid end, to join with Parma's host And hurl the whole of Europe on our isle. Another day was gone, much powder spent; And while Lord Howard exulted and conferred Knighthoods on his brave seamen, Drake alone Knew that his mighty plan, in spite of all, Had failed, knew that well nigh his last great chance Was lost of wrecking the Spaniards ere they joined Parma. The night went by, and the next day, With scarce a visible scar, the invincible fleet Drew onwards towards its goal, unshakable now In that grim battle order. Beacons flared Along the British coast, and pikes flashed out All night, and a strange dread began to grip The heart of England, as it seemed the might Of seamen most renowned in all the world Checked not that huge advance; yet at the heart Of Spain no less there clung a vampire fear And strange foreboding, as the next day passed Quietly, and behind her all day long The shadowy ships of Drake stood on her trail, Quietly, patiently, as death or doom, Unswerving and implacable. End of Book 12, Part 1.